Hello ladies and gentlemen, I will be your host for tonight. I'm known as PANCZASU, the mighty mix spammer. Welcome to Midnight Summer Blues, coming into your face right about now. Are you a Midnight Summer Blue? Tune in to find out. I have no idea what is going on with this intro, but I'm willing to keep it like this. It is a little bit filled with fake information as it's more like noon right about now when I'm recording this video, but let's pretend like it's a midnight. It is a summer at least, or I think, maybe it's fall, I don't know, I'm pretty bad with this sort of things. So when we last left off, there were people to kill in a cool Midnight Summer Blue fashion, so how about we get right to it. What do you want to kill first, the Fleeton Sociopath or Jinsen? I'm voting for the Sociopath battle, because I'm more likely to win this one, thank you very much. Targeting will of course be a nosebreaker, and knowing the stupidity of my pilots, they will target this Imperator that is fully, not damaged, instead of the one that is half damaged. But that's actually fine, because it is a game technique. I mean, the AI is probably using a formation which makes me attack this Imperator instead of the other one. Except, maybe, for some reason, I'll actually attack this one, and I'll be very happy if that will actually be the case. Now, those Imperators use kinetics and missiles, so I will have to be wary of that, but at the same time, there is nothing really I need to worry about as well. So I am giving you two false informations that contradict each other, and I feel very good about this. Now, am I recording my little Midnight Summer expedition? I don't know, because I'm loading, and actually yes indeed I am recording this Midnight Summer expedition with Midnight Summer Blues. So, the battle is about to commence and my fleet— oh boy, I forgot to change the graphic settings. I just realized there are very many pixels over there, and they look rather hideous, don't they? Yes indeed they do, unfortunately, so I'll need to pause the video after this battle to fix this kind of thing. Now, I do have a drink next to me, and the enemy actually went for EMP. Well, that's good to know, because I can go for non-persistence if the enemy continues to go for EMP, which, keep in mind, does lower my defenses against missiles, but it actually does not affect defenses that are, anti-kinetic defenses. That's what I was trying to say. So I don't really know why the AI went for EMP. I mean, yes, sure, they do have some missiles, but not too many of them, so that was a little bit awkward. And look here, I was able to counter their energy absorption. That's a new, battle card, energy absorption, which absorbs energy, a very powerful stimulant for males after they reach their 40 years. I'm sorry if I've offended like majority of my demographic, because I actually believe that may have been the case. But whatever, we are going to continue with what we are doing right now. I should not have gone for non-persistence. I was about to change it into— I cannot even show it to you. Into deflector thingy that increases my deflector's power and decreases my beam power. Yes, I'll lose some beam power, but as you can see, this would have been a fairly good idea, because I would counter the enemy. And as a direct result of that, my battle card would be even more powerful, and my beams would not lose any of the juice. However, as you can see, my captains were actually not completely brain dead, and they did target the right Imperator, taking it down without too much of a problem. My Lithic, however, is almost dead, and it is about to fall apart even without the help of enemy fighters and bombers. That said, oh, they have another fleet. How many fleets are there? 1, 2, 3 fleets. I cannot do this thing, I'm sorry. I did try my best, I can promise you that. I did do everything I could to actually make it sound a little bit better. And why do— oh, you have no movement left. That would explain some things. Or maybe not all of the things, but some things for sure. Now, unfortunately, my Kappa field has been challenged to a duel, like a fleet that has been challenged to a duel by an enemy fleet. And I will probably be utterly destroyed, because my fleet is half dead, the enemy fleet is half alive, which is usually a problem. That said, I am currently besieging Galter, which will fall down in 4 turns, and Jinsu will be mine again soon. Those are at least my hopes. I can now safely execute all the planned moves of all my fleets and start capturing Gadana, because it's a bastard of a system and I don't want it to be not captured. Same goes with Feia, it will only take me 8 turns. Of course my ship will be interrupted, but by now I do want to annoy the Horatio as much as humanly possible. Also, there are some good news. If we look at where there it is, my military status, I'm on 4th place, and I'm fairly certain that by this point Croatia are either on 5th place, on 3rd, but we are very close together in terms of military power. And I am outproducing them most assuredly, because yes, my fleet might be only at 4th place, but keep in mind, I do not generate any dust and still am on such a high place, which to me means that I have a very high amount of food industry and science production. And since I'm not even focusing on science, I'm willing to say that all of this fleet comes from food and industry, which is very important because it means I can just spam my fleets and overpower my enemies, which is exactly what I intend to do. Now, there are many fleets orbiting in Jinsen. One of them has been challenged. One of them... why does it have so much invasion power? No, wait a second. This fleet has not been challenged, it's just an invasion fleet. This fleet is just here to make sure that when the enemy kills my Saint of Fashion, it will still be able to be here and take the damage from my invasion fleet, which will remain untouched. As for those fleets over here, as you can see, I do have one big fleet ready to come to Jinsen and rescue my poor little damsels in distress. Let's start guarding the system and make sure that no Croatian bastard does anything to it. With that said, we can begin our assault. Let us start with weaker first, because all of our ships are equal, but let's pretend like they're not. And then we can continue onwards with a targeting that is focused around a nosebreaker strategy. Here's hoping my ships don't all target the striker. But even if they do, I'm using kinetics. They're quick to change targets, not quickly. Which means that I'm not in a lot of trouble at all. Trouble, by the way, is a new word for problems, including probes. What on earth am I talking? Anyway, let's continue with our little Midnight Summer Blues expedition and actually go for a weapon of overclock. Here is hoping that the enemy doesn't go for magnetic field, because if they do, I am rather dead. I think that in the melee phase I should just offensive retreat if I survive until this phase, because if that's the case, then there is no way I'll be able to deal much damage to the enemy, but at the same time, at least I might be able to save some of my save note to fashion. It's difficult to say really, so I'm just going to go into manual and see how we go. I do have some fighters though, don't I? Yes indeed, a fighter and a bomber, fully charged and ready to fight the enemies on every single one of my ships. That is good, that is what I like to see. And that, oh, I forgot to change my graphical settings once again. That is yet another killing blow in my gentleman's pride and dignity. Fortunately, I'm not a gentleman by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't really have to worry about it all that much, now do I? No, indeed I do not. I offend people everywhere I go, and the enemy actually offended me with his choice of a card that is exactly the same as the choice that I chose. Now you cannot understand a word I say, because I'm doing that pout thingy with my mouth, and yes, it was rather awful. Anyway, here's a cool little action shot of my fighters doing some fightery business. It does look rather neat, doesn't it? And my ships are falling like flies, one after another, one after another. The enemy continues with their weapon overclock, filthy action battle cards, and they destroyed my entire fleet, whilst my fleet was able to deal like probably no damage to the enemy whatsoever. My fighters and bombers are actually more efficient than my kinetics on my bigger ships, I believe. I mean, look at that. The spectacle still continues onwards even after we finished our battle. This does say something, and if it doesn't say anything, then I don't know why, but that is indeed apparently the case. Now, the enemy continues to harass me on Jinsen. They really want to maintain control of the system, but of course I will not let them, because I am me, and me is myself. Myself and I are the two people I care about, and that was a very selfish thing to say. Now, there is however an invasion fleet coming to Lisso, and from Lisso it might, oh yeah, it would definitely go to Tram. Fortunately, I have a say no to fashion which can guard Tribe and disallow any invaders to actually capture the system instantly, like they did on Jinsen. However, speaking of Jinsen, I believe it's about time I go for a defensive formation with a little bit stronger fleet. It is a very mixed bag of a fleet, I have to admit, but there are a lot of Hug Me Please ships, and in fact so many that the only way for the enemy to attack my damage dealer directly is to go for a spread fire attack, which is by far not the most effective. Meanwhile, I can just go for Nosebreaker and waste all my shots on those strikers and ducks, which in my honest opinion, is fine, because I'm not using missiles, and kinetics and beams, they are quickly to change targets after the initial target has been destroyed. So while there is a possibility that I might overkill the striker, I don't think that I'll just... I don't think it will be too bad, and if it will be, then you can shout at me after we finish this thing. Now, I'm going to start with Magnetic Field. Why? Because apparently that's what the enemy likes to go for. No, hold on a second. The enemy will like to go for Weapon of the Clock, but this time they might not. So let's start with a Short Circuit, because it's a very safe bet, a very powerful battle action card and thingy, and I'm willing to go for it just because for the kicks of it. And hey, why not? And other stuff. Although Camouflage is very nice, but it does lower my damage on my melee weapons, so by far it is the least optimal choice for me right now. What will be my medium card battle action then? I'm still undecided, I'll be completely honest with you, so I think that Short Circuit can never be a completely wrong idea, and let's go for Magnetic Field in melee phase, when the enemy tends to melee me a lot with their kinetics. And magnetics, they counter kinetics, because that's apparently the thing that exists in this universe. Oh yeah, Midnight Summer Blues deserves a little bit of a drink. I made myself my own drink. I call it Midnight Blueberry, which is completely blue, except it's not, it's actually orange. And it's the same juice I was always using. And why does it pour so slowly? No, it's actually spinning up a little bit. That was a little bit strange. I guess it's because of some reasons I cannot grasp with my mind and intellectual improprieties. But it doesn't matter, as I was able to counter the enemy's long-range battle card, which I found to be highly amusing, as they are going to fall down one by one. And actually, I just realized why I should go full spread fire, because apparently my ships all target the enemy in pairs, leaving the damage dealers in the forms of ducks and strikers alone, which is not optimal at all. So let's continue actually going for short... No, retreat. Short Circuit, thank you very much, and go for spread fire to actually try and deal some damage to the ducks and striker. Striker going down, ducks can say the same thing about itself. But unfortunately, in melee phase, I will need to go for, Nosebreaker strategy, because otherwise I'll probably do like no damage by the end of this battle, which is highly ideal. However, right now I was able to do some damage, which is good, and you know what, maybe a guillotine would have been a better choice of action in this, at this point in time. However, I did lose one of my hanging piece, which is highly annoying, because the other one is taking heavy damage, but it's still in there. Striker has come down, which makes me smile a little bit, and makes me also realize that it's probably a good time to actually take a sip of my drink, the Midnight Blueberry. So give me a second. My Midnight Blueberry tastes exactly like what you would not expect from the drink titled Midnight Blueberry. But it honestly doesn't matter in my honest opinion, because it is a Midnight Blueberry after all. Now let us merge my fleets to a powerful little moo fleet and not attack the enemy, because I'm not a brain-dead maniac that just attacks everything he sees. Because if I do this, I'll suffer incredible damage, and while I'm still alive, I can blockade those ships and disallow them to attack my invasion force. Which is what I want to be the case. I don't want my invasion force to be touched, I want Jinsen to be mine. Now, since it looks like my fleets are slowly but surely not actually winning, what I was planning to do is do something like this. Go to my big pew pew from space, upgrade the siege engines, not engines, weapons, and also equip them with bomb busters thingies. Then get rid of some of those bombers. Actually, no, let's not do that, because we did realize that invasion bomber is more efficient than non-invasion bomber thingy, by which I mean a siege engine. So let's leave it like that. Now this ship isn't, by far, not the most ideal optimal choice. It doesn't have the optimal choice of modules for a ship that is designed to capture the enemy systems, but it does have some bombs, and bunker busters is what I need. I want to bomb the enemy systems just cause I feel like doing so. And even though it costs a ton of industry, it does cost a ton of industry, doesn't it? But let's go for it anyway. It's stupid to go for something like this. If you want to do a similar ship, just make a ship that is equipped fully with siege modules and bombers that are designed to invade the enemy systems, and then make a couple of ships that do the same thing. I mean, a couple of ships that do the same thing, but also have bombs. But make sure that there are less of those ships with bombs than the ships with siege, so that you're optimal in terms of invasion, but at the same time are still capable of bombing the enemy systems. Right now, I'm doing this stupid thing for no logical reason whatsoever, but since I am a human, I believe that I am entitled to stupidity, which is what I'm willing to go for right now. I do have a couple more say no to fashions, which I'm going to send all of them except one. This one will guard Alpha from enemy invaders, and the rest will go to Jinsen to reinforce my already weakened army. And by reinforce, I mean just one of them is going to do that, and the rest is going to sit here and do absolutely nothing whatsoever. Which is a solid idea in my honest opinion, in this little tiny puny dark brain of mine, which continuously fails me. That's okay though, because I know that in the end, I will be the one who prevails over Horatio. I may not win the game, but Horatio are all I care about. Now, let's have Trim actually focus on making me some big pew-pew from space. Why? Because actually, why not? I do want to be able to capture the enemy systems, and I'm losing my invasion ships, not only my attack ships, but also my invasion ships, which is never an optimal thing. You, dear sir, however, make me a Hagen Priest and a Fennec after you're done with that. Actually, this will take an age for you to do so let's actually make a bunch of Hungry Priests, which will take much less time in comparison to a Phoenix. As for those to know, however, you can finish making this Hungry Priest, but there, please, I do want some more Dreadnoughts. Prototype already has his thingy queued up, but for you, dear sir, a Hungry Priest is in order, because they are very good damage soakers. By which I mean they take the damage and they suck them in place of sorts. Which I don't exactly know what it is, but it... Shut up just, will ya? It's Midnight Summer Blues, everybody. Please stay with us, as we are going to make you listen to some beautiful Midnight Summer Blues music. Which I cannot think of right now, so we're just going to continue talking and watching people on Sociopath burn. Of course, we are going to go for defensive formation, but spread fire is in order with the amount of strikers that there are. By far, in my opinion, the most optimal choice of action right now will be possibly, that's a word that I patented a long time ago, so possibly the best choice of action for me is yet again to go for short circuit, assuming the enemy will go for mass defense. However, I do not actually believe that this is what the enemy AI intends on doing, so we'll see what actually works or in what does not. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were unable to tell from the volume, decibels and other things that came into your ear right now, I was coughing. It is a rather intense action that requires all my attention devoted entirely and completely to the action that I'm currently actioning, which is a cough. A cough, ladies and gentlemen, is something you do when you wipe out the Horatio. You cough and they all fall over and die. It's a rather enjoyable sight, wouldn't you agree? Anyway, the enemy is going for adaptive strategy, which is annoying because there isn't much I can do to counter it except for weapon overclock, which actually does counter adaptive strategy. And I would love for it to be countered because then the enemy is just so much less optimal, but they instead annihilatingly countered me. So by now I don't really care what kind of battlecast AI goes for, because I'm already dead most likely, but at the same time I can now freely watch the spectacle of explosions, beams, kinetics and other thingies from space. That said, right now the camera angle is by far not the optimal one, which is a phrase that I continually use to not so great effect. Now I'm going to turn my hub on once again to see what happened, and the enemy actually was very smart, being able to deal a lot of damage to me and using the cards that I didn't really truly expect him to use. Some smart play over there, AI. However, look at that, the Imperial falls down, ladies and gentlemen. Midnight Summer Blues, as I told you, the power of blues compels you, because there is nothing that can withstand the power of a good blues tune. Oh yes. I didn't know why I started talking about Midnight Summer Blues and all of this stuff, because I did just finish listening to Pacific Rim soundtrack, so that doesn't really, you know, sound like the blues you would expect to sound like. What did I say? Whatever. So, yeah. In your face, what is going on with my brain? I think I just hit a blue screen. Also, where on earth is my invasion fleet? Did I never have one? Maybe I never had an invasion fleet over here. Well, in this case, I'm very happy that I'm making some invasion ships on tram. And now that I think of this, I'm actually willing to see which kind of ship does like invasion modules. I don't think I have a ship that likes invasion modules. So in this case, I would say that Tectonic with bombers that are designed to invade is indeed the best choice. So this, I'm going to play it smart, like I said I wouldn't. So this Tectonic is actually, hold on a second, does the big pew pew from space have a tonnage module? No, indeed it doesn't, and look what happens now. I can install another siege module. Oh yes, baby, now it actually has the firepower I wanted to have. Now, can I also install an engine module, maybe, perhaps? Mayhaps, as some might say. No, I cannot, but it was worth a try. What did you say? Do you say what some gentleman said? I guess he wouldn't. And look at that, this videocast is about 20 minutes long, and all of this was spent on a single turn. I guess it goes to show that a lot of things are happening, and that Midnight Summer Blues prevails over all obstacles except time. I'm now happily willing to finish the moves on some of my more imponent fleets, which it was actually in hindsight a pretty bad idea, because now when the enemy attacks my fleets on Sociopath, you attack all of them at once instead of one fleet and then the other, which I could have made and do had I not been a complete and utter dummy. Unfortunately, I am a dummy, so this is what happened, and looky here, the enemy, they wanted to capture Triumph so badly, but I was smart and I made sure that there is a say no to fashion orbiting it and disallowing the enemy to capture it instantly. Now, oh, thank you, effing game, you son of a bastard! I know it says all factions have lower engine power, but I really needed those engines. Why, you may ask? Because I really needed this fleet to make it to Jinsen in a single turn. I really did need this to happen. But now, look what happens when I press Shift. It will not be able to make it. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, technically speaking, it is supposed to make it. But I know this game, it will probably like not have one movement point enough or something along those lines. Which is, I would say it's fine, but it's actually not. So let's prove my theory is right. Actually, it isn't. I will be able to switch to Jensen and reinforce my fleets and... You bastard! Get over here and fight like a man! Those whippersnapper kids running away from me all the time. Doesn't matter. I'm on Jensen and I have my Jaeger fleet. In fact, you know what? That's how this fleet is going to be called. How do you spell Jaeger in English? Like that? I think, maybe. Why didn't it... Hey, come on. Not Omicron, you stupid bastard, but... Jaeger. There we go. Confirm. Why isn't it a Jaeger fleet yet? Does this guy have something against Jaegers? Is it in a space made by kaijus? OMG, I just discovered the secret of the century. Unpleasant Studios are aliens that are here to invade us in kaijus. Yeah, they are kaijus in fact. They are not in kaijus, they are kaijus. They are designing kaijus to invade us. And this game is the first step on their way to galactic overwhelmingly, which I don't know what actually means, but that I wouldn't say matters, and if it does, then too bad for me, I guess. Anyway, you just said, make me a hug, please, because I need a hug, and then make some invasion ships, because I need to invade people. Now, as for the rest of my assistants, they have a bunch of stuff to do, but since I want this videocast to be uploaded by today, it cannot be too long. So instead of continuing battles everywhere across the board, I'll just finish this battle and then I'll end my videocast. It will be a short one for sure, but it is important that I actually do make sure that it is online by today. Also, I did just realize, hold on a second, let's start with spread fire, because there's one striker left, but I did just realize something very troubling. I didn't remember to make you double aware of the fact that this Saturday on September the 21st, I'll be hosting a multiplayer event of sorts. And by multiplayer event of sorts, I mean a multiplayer event where I and you can play together and have fun together. Which sounds like a jolly idea. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you say so? I think you should say so if I'm entirely honest and frank about this. But, of course, if you want to know more details about this sort of thing, then you do need to watch my videocast, which was, announcing the fact that I am indeed planning on making a multiplayer small event. So far, almost nobody has signed up, so there is plenty of space. And if you're worried that you will come and nobody else will be there, I'll be there for sure, and there will be other people there for sure. It's just that there are not enough, in my honest opinion, right now, but even if there is, for example, like 3 of us, Midnight Summer Blues needs no more. Anyway, it looks like the enemy is brain dead stupid again, goes for spamming, gravity thingies, no, magnetic field, and OMG, I was supposed to switch this to a nosebreaker, wasn't I? Yes, indeed I was, but I was able to do it in time. So nosebreaker incoming in your nose, you bastards. And my tanky ships, Hugging Beast, are doing a tremendously splendid job at making sure that I own the enemy in all sections across the board. Focusing fire on one Imperator after another, the enemy fleet is going down and mine is prevailing. Let us celebrate this with my Midnight Blueberry, I meant to say. Whatever, let us drink together. That was refreshing, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Midnight Blues are. No, Midnight Summer Blues. Because Midnight Blues have nothing on Midnight Summer Blues. Remember, kids, if you want to listen to Midnight Summer Blues, make sure they are Midnight Summer Blues and not Midnight Non-Summer Blues, because those kind of blues have nothing on Midnight Summer Blues. I know I'm not commentating too well on what happened in this video in terms of what I do and why I do it. I just realized this, but I think we discovered more about each other today. We discovered that Midnight Summer Blues is a thing, and we also discovered that I continue attacking the enemy because I can. As you can see, I lost a couple of ships around Jinsen, but the enemy lost a striker, and why on earth are all of those Imperators damaged equally? I did force my ships to go for Nosebreaker in later stages, so why did they not go for Nosebreaker? I couldn't say I understand this because I don't. Anyway, it's a good time to end this cast. It was PANCZASU, the mighty mix spammer. If you somehow managed to enjoy my video, then you know what to do. Please like it and leave a comment, because I do love reading them and they help me out a lot. Thank you for watching, and I will see you online with Midnight Summer Blues.